Oh, thank every anime deity you can think of. Higurashi, when they cry, new is good. Oh, it feels good to say that. But yes, everybody, we are here. We are here to talk about Higurashi, when they cry, new. Episode 1, the premiere. It doesn't feel real yet. It hasn't quite sunk in. But if you are just as excited as I am, then be sure to go ahead and hit that sub button if you're new here to the channel. Hi, my name is JoJo. I make seasonal anime content. I've been doing that for a long time. And if you want to join me on said adventures through the seasonal anime grind, then go ahead and hit that sub button. And if you're a longtime fan, go ahead and consider hitting that join button. That'd also be appreciated. But let's actually dig into this week's episode. Oh man, I definitely owe Passion an apology. In fact, to the staff members of Higurashi When They Cry, my sincerest, genuine apologies. I was wrong. I was very concerned. If you saw my autumn, what I'll be watching in autumn video, I had said many times in that entire video, does me a concern. And I still stand by that. It does me a concern when I look at the staff list, right? I should say it did me a concern when I looked at the staff list, because I was like, I don't really trust a lot of these dudes and dudettes. And that concern with their past work sort of made me concerned about Higurashi and how it would turn out. Was it gonna be like a bad remake? Can you even screw up Higurashi? Like how are they gonna do it? Are they gonna botch something? I don't know. I was scared. The instant it started, I was like, nope, they got it. the instant this thing started, I'm like, wow, this is almost 1-to-1. And I'm totally okay with that. All I really wanted from this remake was just to bump up the visuals. I'm not a big fan of the visuals from the original Higurashi. It's just not my style. I know some people love it. It's not for me. But I actually like the updated style. I do have a slight nitpick, a very slight one. I'll even show a screenshot here. It's hard to exactly pinpoint, because I've seen a few images. And in fairness, a lot of the time is when they're moving, and I'm willing to give a hell of a lot of leeway when characters are moving. I don't like being one of those dudes who takes in-betweens, as an example of bad animation, because it's not bad animation, it's the character designs themselves. Some of the keyframes, they just look blobby, and that is something that affected the original series. And hell, I have seen... Before anybody says anything, I have seen the original art for the original Higurashi visual novel, and that is like the definition of blob. Like the character's arms look more like Lego brick arms. And look, that's not a knock. If you like that design, that's cool. When it comes to character design, I'm way. I'm already pretty much in the subjective camp. If you like something like it, don't let me deter you from that. But when it comes to character designs, I'm even more like that. I'm more, in this case, I'm more in line of, if you like it, cool. For sure, that's awesome. For me, I'm not a big fan of the visual novel designs. I wasn't a big fan of the designs from the original series. I'm more okay with it here. I think that they actually update it so it's still sort of blobby. The characters still look kind of blobby, but for the most part, I actually like the way it's handled here. I thought that they did this pretty well. And in general, I thought the whole episode was legitimately very, very solid. There's this eerie sense of familiarity throughout the entire episode. And speaking of familiarity and nostalgia and all that fun stuff, I should probably explain my history with Higurashi. I watched this show much later. I didn't watch it when it was airing. This was sort of in one of my blind periods for anime where I just wasn't watching any anime at all. So I had to come to this show later in life. I believe I was in college, or I had left college already. I'm not super sure. It was around that time, so it was a few years back. And on a whim, one October, I said that I wanted to watch a bunch of horror anime, and I was watching this and Another. And while I did finish Another, and I really enjoy Another, I didn't finish Higurashi. However, it's not because I didn't like it. I don't really remember why. I had just stopped watching it, and I don't really have an explanation as to why, because I have seen, and I'm not going to spoil anything, I'm just going to tell you how many episodes I've seen. I've seen round about the first, what I'll just go ahead and call arc I've seen like the first few episodes and then the episode that follows. So, and again, no spoilers, because there will be people who have not seen the original. So you fans and we're gonna have this moment to just say, I know the basic setup. I know what's gonna be going down. I don't know everything though. I do know the basic setup. I have seen the first, again, we'll call it arc, and I know sort of what's going on with the certain characters. I have a vague idea, but I'm not gonna go too far into it. But I should say that, yes, I have seen the first few episodes, haven't seen what happens after. I am not super sure where the story's going, but I will say, from what I've seen, I liked, and in fact, I would go so far as to say there's certain scenes in the original that I loved. The two scenes that I'm thinking of, without spoiling it, I'll just say phone booth and door. I said that in the audio video, I'll say it again, phone booth, door. Those two scenes I thought were so effective and so damn scary. And that's the thing with Higurashi is it's not going to be like something that like haunts you, right? Like, but it's just, well, actually the door one and the phone booth one kind of are haunting in their own way. But there's something eerie, you know, like it might not be like pants crapping terror, but there's something eerie about this show where you know something's not right in this sleepy little town. Something's off, especially when you start poking and prodding. You can tell something's not right. It's too picturesque. It's too perfect. And once Keiichi starts to put pieces together, that happy little town, that sleepy little village, it starts to turn on him. And I like that you can see it immediately. You can sense it, like, just immediately there's a bad vibe. I mean, like, the instant the show starts, it starts with a brutal, shall we say, beatdown. And you just know something's going down. You just know something's gone horribly wrong. And then we immediately cut to, like, a few days prior, right? We immediately cut to something else. And it's like, oh, there's the dude, but he looks fine now, and everything's cool, and what's going on? And I'm really uncomfortable. Even in scenes that aren't scary, even in scenes that, like in this episode, hell, I'm thinking of the picnic in particular. Even in scenes that are not meant to be scary, there's something about the, like, knowing that it's about to pop off. I think even if you're, like, this is your first experience with Higurashi, because they were smart enough to put that scene at the beginning, like they do in the original, because you know that, you always have this sense, like, even when all this goofy stuff is going on, the picnic, the scavenger hunt, even when all of this is going on, there's this underlying dread. Like, you know something's not right, but you can't put your finger on what yet. Something is going to lead to that moment at the beginning of the episode, but you're not sure what it is. And all you know is that Keiichi is going to lose his damn mind at some point. And again, you're not sure why. But those scenes with the picnic, it's unsettling because you know that. You've been given that information, and so scenes that are all happy-go-lucky suddenly don't feel happy-go-lucky. These scenes that are normally like fun, moe, slice-of-life type scenes, there's that underlying, like, I'm uncomfortable. Especially in the scene with the scavenger hunt. That vacant stare on Raina's face when like, and they even ask her, like, are you all right? Like, that vacant, like, just absence, that empty stare is unsettling because you're like, is Raina okay? Like, and don't forget, like, this is after Keiichi asked her if anything had been going on in the town before he showed up, and she's like, nothing. I don't know anything. It happened before I got here. He's like, all right, that was weird, right? Like, that like, okay, I didn't know that, so that's kind of neat. I thought you lived here the whole time, but all right. She's like, yeah, okay, bye, and he's like, all right. That was weird. You know, like that was strange. But, like, at the same time, it's not enough for him to, like, poke and prod into just yet, right? Like, for now, Keiichi's like, sure, okay, whatever, that was weird, but whatever. And just those little scenes where Raina sort of, like, goes a little bit, like, Space Case, you know, where she goes a little bit empty-minded, and, like, that empty stare, it's very unnerving. There's something about it that just doesn't sit right. There's something about this entire town, all the characters, where you're like, I don't trust any of it. And that's why I like Higurashi. That feeling of, like, you can't sit still because you know something at some point. You're not sure when, you're not sure what, and you're not sure how, something's gonna go wrong. And again, just to harp on nostalgia, just thinking about that last scene is so good. The scene just before the credits where Keiichi's hanging out in the trash heap, trying to get Colonel Sanders out of the trash heap. And Raina says, like, hey, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go get some tea, and I'll get something to get that unstuck. Just give me a sec. And Keiichi just sort of, like, lays on top of this truck for hours on end. And before anybody says smartphone, I swear to God, this was, I believe they say the time period is 1983. That shit didn't exist. So Keiichi just had to sit on top of that broken-ass car in the middle of that trash heap, which must smell terrible. But he just kind of has to sit there. And you see the time pass overhead, and he can't help but notice that there's some sort of newspaper laying nearby where Raina was, and then you hear the static. And if you know, okay, listen, like, if you're new, this moment means nothing to you. And if you've never heard this song, this moment means nothing. But the instant I heard the static, I was like, get the hell out of here. And then, na 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 na. I was like, oh my God. Like, I lost my shit. I was so excited. I was so excited when they played the original OP. I was like, yes, dude. Is it going to play, like, every time? Or are we going to get, like, a specific OP, like, a brand new OP? Or are we going to get, like, the original OP just again? It was so good. And he's like, wait, so something did happen. I knew it. And as he's thinking, like, something happened, and the original music's playing, and I'm getting all nostalgic, it turns around, and there's Raina, and she's got the cleaver, although it looks a little different this time, but it's still the cleaver, and you see her there with that it's so good. It's such a good scene, and it got me so damn hype. I was beyond excited when I saw that. So good. This episode, I'm telling you, like, even though, yes, it is almost 1-to-1, I don't care. I was so happy. And honestly, there was some stuff that I forgot. Like, I had completely forgotten about the other two. Like, I had completely forgotten about Rika and Satoko. Like, completely forgotten that they existed. So when I saw them, I'm like, oh yeah! Like, so every scene with them, like the prank scene and all that stuff, I was like, oh yeah, I totally forgot they existed. But man, the Raina scene, the OP playing at the end, oh, it was so good. And just knowing, like, oh, Keiichi, my boy, you're in for some shit. Like, you're in for a bad time, Keiichi. But the audience, well, we're in for a pretty spoopy time. And I am excited. Before we go, though, I thought I'd do a little bit of that thing that y'all like when I do. And y'all know that I had to do it to them. It's design time. It's time for everybody's favorite, is design time. If you're new here and you don't know what design time is where I take a look at a character design. I take a look at specifically what I find the most interesting being the color choices, so the color design of the character, but also sort of taking a look at the character design. So before you even get introduced to them, what are they trying to tell you about the character? And I thought we'd start with Keiichi. Now, Keiichi's design is sort of meant to indicate the everyman, at least in my humble opinion. You're meant to sort of project yourself onto Keiichi, being the protagonist of this sort of like crazy adventure, and that does make sense. Given that this is an adaptation of a visual novel, Keiichi probably doesn't normally have a model in game, right? Like, he doesn't have like a character design that's in front of your face all the time because you're seeing stuff from his point of view. So it makes sense that they want to have the design be as sort of, I don't want to say stock, but as sort of, relatable as possible. So Keiichi has this sort of medium brown hair, and brown as a color is meant to be a sort of like reliable color. They're supposed to like brown is sort of like you want to rely on brown, like you trust brown, especially in a character design. Brown is sort of like you can rely on them, but they're also sort of like a bit predictable. You can always kind of tell what decision they're gonna make. You can always kind of tell where they're gonna fall on certain things. So brown, while yes, it's reliable, it's also sort of predictable, making Keiichi again sort of an everyman. Then you have the most interesting thing to me about Keiichi is the purple eyes. Because, again, if you're going for an everyman thing, the purple eyes is a bit of a mysterious pick, and I thought about it for a little bit, and I was like, what the hell could the purple eyes mean? Now, purple has been sort of and if you're a fan of my ReZero or my Demon King Academy videos, you'll already know this, but purple represents mystery. And so why the holy hell does he have purple eyes? He's the everyman. Why does he have mystery in his eyes? And when I thought about it, he has a keen eye for mystery. The instant he hears that something had gone wrong in this town, he can't help himself. He feels compelled to solve this mystery. Keiichi has an eye for mystery, hence his eyes are purple. Then looking at like the character design, most of these characters actually come packed with two designs. You have their school outfits, and then you have their sort of like everyday outfits, the casual outfits. And I would say of like combining those two outfits together, the color that stands out the most for Keiichi is easily red. It's the undershirt that he has when he's wearing his uniform, but it's also the color of the vest that he wears over top of his black undershirt. So yeah, he has a red undershirt when he's at school, he has a black undershirt when he's out of school, but in both of those, red is the design that seems to sort of pop out the most. Keiichi's regular school uniform is just like white, but the red underneath, you're sort of like, oh, that's interesting. And then the red vest when he's in his casual mode. So yeah, red is definitely the color that I probably associate the most with Keiichi. The purple is good, but red is the one that I associate the most with him, and why is that? Well, when we think about it, it's A, the most striking color in the design, but also B, it definitely is meant to sort of symbolize a strength to the character. Keiichi is shown to be definitely like the one that they rely on to get the heavy lifting done, right? They sort of have fun picking at Keiichi because they know he can take it. He's strong. He can take the pranks. He can help Raina get Colonel Sanders out of the trash heap. So Keiichi is sort of seen by the others as being relatively strong, but also courageous in the face of absolute horror that is about to approach us. But also as a negative, because a lot of these designs are, because of the nature of the show, I feel like it's also meant to be flipped, right? So it's not just that he's strong and courageous, but also as a negative, he's kind of quick to anger, you know, like, and we'll get into that a little bit later. But Keiichi has a sort of mean streak to him. It's played off as a joke, but we see it very early on, and he does say like, I like when he says like, I'd leave, I wouldn't even wait for you if I was late for school. I'd just go. To Raina, and she's like, that's mean, and he's like, I'm just kidding, I'd wait for you for sure. There's a sort of like a subtlety to the character, and even like he's quick to get mad at Satoko and stuff like that. Like there's definitely, I feel like maybe I'm saying that character's name wrong, the small blonde girl, there's a mean streak to Keiichi that's definitely played off for laughs, but it is there, and especially given what we see at the beginning of the episode, it's definitely there. The next character's design that I'm going to talk about is actually Reina's and Tomitake's. But I should stress that I am going to talk about the other designs as well. I just kind of wanted to do like at most 3 designs, and these are the 3 designs that jumped out to me the most, and I felt like I had the most interesting things to say about them. Although Mion, I have a feeling I'll actually have a lot to dig into next week, because yes, I am going to be talking about this week to week. Reina's design is also interesting. Reina's design is basically the short orange hair with blue eyes, and the orange hair, I think, is meant to sort of symbolize a spontaneous and enthusiastic character, right? Even with the short hair, she's not like other girls with the long hair. She's got the short hair, you know, like she's a bit spontaneous, she's enthusiastic, she has a youthful demeanor to her. The short orange hair fits that, but orange as a color is also superficial and impatient. And that is definitely key for Raina. She definitely has no patience for Keiichi's questioning. You know, like she's not really interested in helping him solve mysteries or nothing. She just kind of wants to carry on as though nothing's wrong. She's a bit superficial in that sense. Get it? Orange. It's her color. But also, I'd say outside of orange, which is actually the color I associate with her the most, I'd say outside of that, as like looking at her design in terms of like the clothes, I'd say the main color that links the school uniform to the after-school outfit is actually white. The uniform is all white with like a yellow sort of scarf thing, or tie thing, or whatever, a bow thing, whatever. But the white also translates over to her out-of-school outfit being probably her most iconic, that being the dress with the hats. And white as a color is sort of, or like I guess a combination of colors, is sort of meant to show innocence, right? Like white is typically meant to show like innocent, pure, right? But with Raina's case, I can't help but feel like maybe it means emptiness. While innocence is great and all, as we said earlier, it's good to flip these design principles on their head, right? So whenever you think of like, oh, this color is meant to represent this as a positive trait, you should also probably flip it to be the negative. So while yes, white is typically associated with innocence, it's also associated with emptiness, and I do get that vibe from Raina big time. You can't forget the purple ribbon either. The purple ribbon is definitely meant to show, again, that sort of mystery to the character. That there's something mysterious and not quite right about Raina. And she's definitely the most evil moe blob around. Her design is absolutely meant to subvert your expectations. Like, this is like the original, you could basically say this is like the original Doki Doki Literature Club. The designs are cute and fun, but they don't stay that way. You know what I mean? Like, there's definitely an evilness lurking underneath the moe blobs. The last character design I'm going to talk about this week is Tomitake's design. I feel like I just kind of, like, you see Tomitake and you just kind of get the character. I will say, when I watched the original, I was like, oh, he fine. And in this new one, he's still fine. I do think they gave him more of a chiseled sort of jaw, and I was like, why'd they give my man like a more, like, I don't know. I'm not sure if I like it. I kind of like, honestly, this is like the one design that I think I actually prefer the original design, but I don't hate the new one. He's still pretty fine. He's a bit of a silver fox, this one. But yeah, Tomitake is, he's got an interesting design. And by interesting, I mean you immediately get him. You know what I mean? But it's interesting the way that it's used. When you see him, he's got brown hair, brown eyes, right? Again, even more so than Keiichi, predictable, reliable. When you see him, you're sort of meant to sort of, you feel this need that, like, and especially given, like, the rest of his outfit, you feel this, like, interest in trusting him. So when he tells you something's off about the place, you tend to believe him. You are inclined to trust him. Because again, the brown hair, the brown eyes, and we haven't even gotten into the other part of his design, but the general atmosphere of him, the aura he exudes, you are inclined to sort of rely on him and trust him. But the main color that you can associate with Tomitake, and you all are probably shouting this already, is green. Don't shout at your screen, by the way, but it looks weird. But yeah, the main color of Tomitake's design is easily green. There's varying shades. His tank top is green. He's got the green cap. I think the pants are even green. I didn't get a great look because, again, it's sort of, this scene is sort of bathed in orange, so a lot of the colors are sort of tinted in this moment. But from what I can glean, his character design is basically just clad in varying shades of green. Now, green as a color is typically meant to associate with restoration, but in Tomitake's case, I think it's also meant to represent a sort of growth to the character. There's a safety that comes with him, mainly because he has that sort of military type feel to him. He's got the combat boots, he's got the cap, got the tank top, got the dog tags. He just gives you that aura of military man, which gives you badass, and badass trains to reliable, which changes into safety. You do feel safe when he's around, and Keiichi probably feels safe with him around. Dude's built like a brick shithouse, you know what I mean? Like, he's a badass. So you are sort of inclined to put your faith in him, but also green is associated with greediness and materialism. And I do think with Tomitake, him being there and taking pictures without permission, even though Keiichi calls him out for it, he has an ulterior motive. There is a reason why he's there, and I think that even though again, and that's just to flip the design philosophy on its head, even though he sort of exudes this kindness, this sort of like safety net as a character design, if we're flipping it like we've done with the other ones, there's also a sort of greediness to the character that we're going to have to wait to see how that plays out. But with that said, everybody, that is going to wrap up my thoughts on this first episode of Higurashi When They Cry New, because it's in all caps, new. But yes, I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys thought about the premiere in the comments. Also, let me know what you thought about, again, this new style. I tried this out in yesterday's ReZero finale. I'm trying it out here in this Higurashi premiere. Let me know what you guys think about having gameplay in the background, or should I go back to the way videos used to be, where it was just like one screenshot. That I just felt like at least gameplay is a little bit more interesting. But that said, these videos are sort of meant to be enjoyed more as like mini podcasts. So what's happening on screen shouldn't be like hella engaging, because it's more so just, I imagine most people just kind of put me on in a different tab, you know what I mean, when they watch these videos. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on the video format. What do you think? Good, bad, yay, nay? And while you're down there, don't forget to boop that up snoot and share if you care. And of course, as always, I have to give a big thank you to the good folks in the T Squadron. Look at these beautiful people. Look at all these beautiful names. And hey, if you would like to join these beautiful people, there are now 2 ways to do so. The first is by hitting that first link in the description to check out our Patreon page. And the second option, for just a wee bit more, is by hitting that join button next to the sub button to get yourself a badge next to your name and some emotes to spam in Premiere chats and the comments. And if I see you spamming some emotes, I will be nothing but happy. Spam those emotes away if you got them. So once again, a big thank you to the T Squadron. You guys are the true MVPs. And as for me, I'm gonna get the heck out of here. Also, so relieved. I'm so relieved it's good. I'm excited to dig into Higurashi, and I hope you guys are too. So, until the next video, you stay classy, AniTube, and you wash your dang hands.